My name is Roxy Menzies, and I am an instructor of Pilates, gyrotonic, and Yamana body rolling. I come from a dance background. I am now back in Toronto. I was working and traveling around the world. I'm a mom, and I'm also a freelance writer, mostly within the realm of fitness, health, and wellness.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that
Do you?
covered it.
I know it's right. Do you practice that? Because that was had a nice flow to it.
Did it?
Yeah, yeah,
Not really. I should though, because everyone needs their sort of elevator pitch. So maybe it's just
yeah.
I'm slowly getting there.
I feel like I forget mine all the time. You know what I mean? So I don't see the point in practicing. I just whatever the context changes what I say too, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it's tough because I have a lot of different things going on.
yes,
And then it's which ones do you bring up and where, you know,
right,
that always kind
yeah.
of yeah. I
Hmm.
don't know. You can only be so practiced anyway. It's the same with teaching, right? Like you can have an idea of what you're going to teach, but as soon as the client comes in, you can go depending on the energy, what's going on, it can totally change, right? So you just need to
Yes,
sort of have your foundation and then go from there, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's those tools in your toolbox, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So what
So
are we going to talk
what's
about
going on?
today?
I there's so many things to talk about. Let's give people a bit of background. Can you talk about our accountability thing, how we started to connect and kind of get closer when you asked me to help you with that? Because I
Yeah. Oh
think
my
even back
gosh.
then I was asking you to come back on the core conversations and talk about that. So let's start there and
I
we'll
know
just
you've
we'll
asked
move
me a few
forward.
times and I kind of went MIA for a while. You weren't the only person though. I really had to kind of step back. So
I
for a bit of
respect that.
context there is because I have a toddler. She's just a little over 2 and she is a strong personality, full of love, full of energy. Yeah, and she like keeps me very busy, as I'm sure most toddlers do. But I think she's a little extra as well. So yeah, so I needed to kind of step back from a lot of things. I didn't have too much energy and thank you. Someone just wrote something sweet. Thanks, Bree. Um, yeah, I didn't quite have the energy and I needed to really like put some things away. Do you know what I mean? I think for the first time
Absolutely.
I've really understood the concept of we have phases in our life.
Yes.
And this is a phase where it had to be more family focused and I needed to be yeah, more at home, between the pandemic and also having a toddler, right? And also
Right,
moving
for
back
sure.
from being overseas. But anyway, that's like a long way off from what you asked me about the
No,
accountability.
but actually, let's stay there for a second because I think people need to hear that too. Because we get in this place where we feel like we are going to like lose relevance, like we're not going to be sharp anymore if we step away. Um, and we have all these aspirations. Like when my kids were your kids' age, I was like in this like a nursery at our church, like, and I was in the childcare because I felt like it was important for me as a dad to be in there because it's always just women in the nursery. So I'm like, as a man, I'm gonna be in there with my kids. So I felt like from that point that was important. So I'm talking with this other dad in there one day, and we're talking about like it's a Sunday, church is going on, the kids are just running around, and we were talking about how we wanted to do things, we wanted to travel more, we wanted to just do stuff with our business and stuff, and like maybe do mission trips and just like help out and just like whatever. And he looked at me and they pointed at my kid and he's like, "That's your mission trip right now." And it kind of put me in check. Like, I mean, yeah, I want to see the world. He says, no. Like, raising that kid is your mission trip right now. The rest of the world, that stuff's gonna be still there when this kid's grown up. And
Yeah.
it helped put things back in perspective. And I stopped like talking about all the stuff I wanted to do out there and kind of turn back inward, right? So that's why, like, when you say that, I stopped pushing you. Obviously, I still talk to you, but I didn't like cut you off because you said no to me 19
Yeah.
times. So
Was it 19? Yeah. Well, you weren't the only
yeah,
one, but
yeah,
no, I completely agree with that. And I mean, of course, I've had moments where I'm like, oh, I want to do this and I want that. And it was tough, right? Because I mean,
mm,
we're in a province that is like one of the last to like kind of get back to normal, like we had our last
yes,
lockdown in January of this year.
like months ago,
Um,
yeah.
So we've been in a pretty isolated bubble. So don't get me wrong. I've had my moments where I have plenty of times. How many times I message you and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so it's not like it's all flowers and perfect. Um,
Right.
and it's funny because like all the creative stuff, all the ideas keep coming and coming. But one thing I feel like I really learned, and I got this actually from Leslie Logan, is the
Hmm.
idea of parking your ideas.
Mm.
Like
Yes.
really, you don't have to do everything at the same time, or the concept of you can have everything, but maybe not all at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I get into that, oh, this person is doing this, because there's a lot of moms out there that like, I don't know how they're doing it. They've
Hmm.
got kids younger than me, and they're just like full on with everything. So you're talking before about the comparison. I need to get a
Yes.
sweater like yours that says so am I. Um, but yeah, like, I'd be lying if I didn't say sometimes it affected me, and I'd be like, oh, how are they doing all that? And I'm like struggling here, and I can't do this,
Hmm.
or, you know, and you kind of set those things aside and realize, okay, this is my path. This is the way that I work better.
Yes.
This is right for me right now. And you
Hmm.
have these ideas and literally park them and come back to them later. And every time you just like, because sometimes we can have that, oh my gosh, I have to do it now. Like if I don't do it now, like everyone's gonna forget about me, or it's not
Hmm.
gonna happen, or someone else is gonna beat me to it.
Right.
And then you have to kind of have faith that it'll work out. Or if that idea doesn't work out, you're gonna have like a ton of other ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so much in there. Because I mean, I think that well, even on the finance side, like I mean, like for myself, being totally transparent, I have conversations with people, and I see people on social media and all the Pilates stuff that they're doing, and you see that they're married to somebody, and that person is like has a full income to a point where this Pilates stuff that they present all the time is their part-time job, is their hobby. It's not the primary income breadwinning endeavor in their household.
Yes, I
You
agree.
know what I
And
mean?
there are a lot of situations like that. But on the same note, we have to remember, like, you never know what's really going on behind the scenes in other people's lives. You don't know
Right.
how they manage their money, what
Yes.
they're actually making, what's going on. And it's so
Yes.
funny that you brought that up, because if you remember, it was actually, yeah, I think it was exactly a year ago that I sent you a message and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling really called to write a blog about, like how we as Pilates instructors have all these self-deprecating stereotypes and we perpetrate them.
Yes.
And I remember
Yes.
I asked you, I was like, do you have anything that you would add to this? And you gave me like a whole list of things. And that blog is supposed to be coming out today on the Balanced
Oh
Body
wow.
blog. Yeah, it's
Cool.
scheduled to come out today. I have no idea what time or when. It's a
Hmm.
two-parter. Um, but yeah, I talk about that and this idea that I don't delve into that about, the grass is always greener on the other side,
Hmm.
but there are people out there that are doing it. Like
Yes.
they are making good money. Like we don't hear about that enough. And don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
I am not. There are people out there that are really struggling, especially after the last 2 years.
For sure.
And we know about all the inequities in the world, much less in the Pilates world. So I'm not trying to downplay any of that. Um, but I think there's a lot out there. And then it's also about what's your idea of success. It goes back to what you were talking about earlier, like comparing
Yes.
ourselves to others, or how many times people are like, oh, I got to be a teacher trainer. Well, why? Do you even want to do that?
Hmm.
It
Oh,
just
I
seems
had to
like
have a
it's the next
storefront Pilates
progression,
studio. Yeah, exactly.
you
They're not
know?
logical steps. But I mean, like firstborn, like that, you're trained to follow the logical steps, right? Like just do this, then get this, then get married, then get a good job, then work there for 40 years, get your watch, and ride off into the sunset, right? So even though we get out of that mindset, we get into our Pilates space, and it's just like, get your teacher training, open a studio, have lots of classes, become a teacher trainer, get on the speaking circuit, become a master trainer, become a guru, like, I mean,
Yeah,
become whatever. Like we go in this mindset and we don't actually pause and say, well, what am I supposed to be doing?
right. And I think we don't give enough credit to, like we kind of have to some extent like superstars in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that we see all the time, and they're doing, workshops, and they're doing all the circuits of, you know,
Yeah.
all the conferences and everything, which is great, but not everybody has to do that. Like there are people in all parts of the world that are making a huge difference in their community, and they're living
Yes.
very comfortable lives, whether they're studio owners or instructors, you know? So I don't think we give
Right.
enough credit to those people. It's not always about the superstars, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I know many people who are amazing frontline people who enjoy being on the front line. They don't want the bureaucracy that comes with everything else. They just like, let me just take care of my people and go
Yeah.
home. And
Yeah.
that is fantastic.
And we talk
Right.
about balance, right?
Yeah.
Right. In our lives. And I know, especially, I think when you're starting out, like, you know, you're so hungry for all the information, for all the courses out there, and you just like live and breathe.
Hmm.
Um, you know, you're living and breathing like everything in that modality that
Yes.
you're training. And that cannot, you know, that's also an imbalance. I mean, there might be
Hmm.
a period that you have to do that because you're learning, but then
For
there's also a
sure.
period where you have to kind of stop and just let everything start to sink in, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, it's comment here. Plus, you don't really know if these superstars are happy or content, right? Like,
that's
once
true.
again, like I said at the beginning, we're projecting, they're putting out their best image of themselves, and you're comparing against the worst view of yourself at
Yeah.
the same time, right? So, technically speaking, we were talking about parking lot or those ideas. Do you have a system? Do you have a place where you put stuff? Do you have like just, you know what I mean? Like, because I'll tell you like straight up.
Martin.
Sorry about that. I am back.
I don't know if I paused or you paused or you got a call.
No, I had a call. Yeah, I had a call come through. So yeah, so I'll come up with an idea. I'll write it down, and I'll lose where I wrote it down. Like I don't park everything in the same spot. Do you have a system that you can suggest to make sure that we can find and those things that we shelf?
I try to have systems, but um, it's not
No.
like it's not a perfected system. But yeah,
So
I
no.
have my moment because I'm a person like I'm like reduce, reuse, recycle. So any type of piece of paper that's lying around that has space on it, I will use it for like lists. I'm very old school. I like to, even when I'm writing, I
Mhm.
like to start with pen and paper before I actually move onto the computer and type.
Yes. Yep.
Um, yeah, and I'm a list person, probably too many. So sometimes I can't find my stuff, and then I have to put aside. Yes, I was like, yes, notebooks, exactly. I have so many
Hey, how
different
are you?
notebooks,
Yes.
and I'm slowly getting better at sort of labeling like this notebook is specifically for this and for this. So I do lose things, but then I can usually find it. So so
That's so not
it's not a
helpful.
perfected system. It's not. I'm
Right.
still working on it. I mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, we live in like a one bedroom condo, which let me tell you, it's an older condo, so it's probably equivalent to like a like what now would be like a two bedroom and a den. Like it's quite spacious, but it's
Yes.
still pretty like it's still pretty cramped for three of us, you know?
Mhm.
So and as the this little toddler keeps growing, she's getting taller and it's getting harder to like find high enough shelves that she can't reach. And you know, so it's
Yeah.
like constantly moving things and like locking things up. So yeah, I am not there with the organization. Depending on who you talk to, some people will be like, "Oh my gosh, she's so professional and so organized and da 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 da." And then on the
Right.
flip side, people will be like, "You are so all over the place and never
How do you
serious
get to,
and da
yeah.
da da." So I think I flip between the two.
Yep. Yep. True. If anyone in the chat has a good system, I'd love to hear it because that was a not asking for a friend question. That was legit. Like, give me some suggestions.
There's got to be
Um,
somebody and there's got something.
yeah, yeah, gotta be. Yeah, what works for you? I'd love to hear. Um, but yeah, so oh yeah, so back to the original question. So then the accountability piece, just talking about that. So now that we've done
I
that
love
piece,
that because I just I'm somebody who really needs accountability, especially
mhm.
right now in this phase of my life. Like even there is there I have my gyrotonic machine, yes, in our one bedroom condo. It's over there. And I
Yes,
have barely been on it. And I have explained I just started teaching again a month ago. Which by the way, I think they're going to have Brittany Murphy. Is
Yes.
she coming on this
Yeah.
week? Yeah.
Yeah, soon. Either early next week or later this week. I gotta double check.
Okay. Oh, Georgia wrote something. She uses her phone calendar to block off projects and priorities.
Nice.
Good. One thing I will say, I feel like everybody should have block time for admin work.
Yes.
Because there's even someone I wrote to today, and I'm like, do you have like blocked off time for like admin stuff? And she was like, nope. And I was like, oh, I was like, you need to have that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working with other people and you're just like, hey, you need to get this thing done. Being all over the place is a bit crazy. I know there are times that you have to be like that, but anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
so accountability. I need accountability. And right now, I need to take class from other people. So I'm
Hmm.
really happy that I started teaching at this really cool studio downtown in Parkdale. Like this kind of just fell into my lap. I wasn't looking for work and didn't know so much about these people. And they're absolutely amazing, like same movement philosophy and everything. And I can take group classes and it's just so good to go in and be the student. You know what I mean?
Yes, be a face in the crowd. It feels so good, right?
Yeah, and I need that. Or even taking a private, I just need that because my again, like right now in this toddler phase, I just feel like my brain's all over the place. Plus I've got like a couple different things that I'm trying to do. And I can
Hmm.
design programs for other people, but to train myself right now, it's just not happening. Like I have to follow something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I really need that accountability. Um yeah, so back then it was she was smaller. She wasn't even quite at a year and I was just like, "Martin, I want to just like at least do like a 30-day thing and do some type of movement." And it was good and you were on it. Like I just said, "Hey, what do you think?" And you're like, "Let's do it." And
I typed it in that deep voice. Yes.
I
Yes,
know that's
Roxy.
my
That's
invitation. And then and you even I think I wanted to start like December 1st and it was November 27th and you're like, "So, did you work out today?" And I'm like, "Dude, December 1st." You're like, "No, let's get it started." Yeah, and it was great. I did move. And then after that it was my life got crazy, so
hmm.
it's been up and down for staying committed to
Yep,
the thing. So that's why I'm really happy now that things have started to open up and I have
for
places where I
sure.
go and
Yeah.
work, you know. Someone
Can
else
I
wrote something about a system.
Yeah, let's touch on it. So, first, Pilates mechanics saying, Roxy, you're so amazing at helping me. And
Oh,
then
thank
next one,
you.
it's like a date with your business. So important. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it, like a date with your
Yeah,
business.
I like that.
Yeah. And then we
I'm
are
gonna
Pilates fellows.
borrow that.
Yes, do that. I'm actually going to screenshot that.
I'm writing it down. Date with your business. That's a great tagline. Who wrote that?
Hmm. That is Il Surna Pilates.
Oh, cool. Well done. Nice.
Pilates and Vitasana. And then I blocked off Fridays for min personal practice, doctor appointments, and just chill time. It's been amazing. So important, right?
And you definitely
That's
need
like,
that chill time, that rest time.
yes, yes. That date.
Date was a game changer. Yeah. Everybody
Yeah,
loves it. We all love it. We can make a shirt
yes.
out of it.
Right.
Or a mug.
Our mug, yes. Yes, Bolivia in the house, right? Alondra. Amazing. And the thing too that I loved about that 30-day thing too is that this is part of honestly the reason why Roxy I was all over that is because it wasn't me coming to you with it, where if I approached you with it, then it would sound daunting. But because you had kind of wrapped your head around it and reached out to me, it was easy for me to come alongside you in your fitness journey.
Yeah. And the best part is that I don't know if people know this, but when I approached you and I said, "Yeah, so let's do this thing and you'll keep me accountable. And you should give me a prize when I'm done." And you
Yes,
did. You
I
did.
did.
You drove across the city and left something at my doorstep, which I still have. It's great.
Nice. I can't even remember what it was. It was like mug, was
It
it?
was
No.
it was like one of the it's not a mug. What do you call it? Like you could put your
Oh
coffee or
yeah,
hot
yeah, yeah.
drink or tea in.
Yes, right.
And then I think
Yes.
the other one's a water bottle. So one is personal victory and one is read method
Oh
Pilates or just read Pilates. I don't remember. I'd have to
yeah.
say it.
Okay.
But yeah,
Whatever.
it's there.
whatever gets people. I've given people stickers before. Like people are motivated by stuff, right? So it's like, but
Please
I just
don't give us stickers because
stickers. I like
no, only
stickers.
because my daughter, like, there are stickers everywhere and I'm really tired of peeling them off everywhere. You got to be careful when you give stickers to Martin.
Right. Too funny.
It's like giving drums to parents.
Right. Or like a 1,000 piece bedazzled kit or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Glitter.
Um, but your movement was like a stretch one day or like strength one day or Pilates one day. Like it wasn't like this daunting, like I'm doing squats and deadlifts for 30 days straight, or I'm doing burpee countdowns every day. Like you just made it movement. Like you just really listened to your body
Yeah.
and put a post up to say, hi everyone, I did it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that
And it was
that was
fun. And
it.
a couple people joined in.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
So that was nice. We should do it again sometime. I think in
I'm
the
down.
fall because I'm purposely trying not to take on too much until the fall
Right.
when the child is in full-time daycare.
Freedom.
Let's hope. I thought that when she started part-time, but then when they get sick, your whole world
Yeah,
gets messed up.
right. I know Jamie, if Jamie White was watching, she'd say the same thing. Like every time she's like, yes, the girls are, oh, they're sick, they're home this week. And then you're like right back in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, can you talk about your course now? So we've talked about like how you take this time off, you've found some accountability in your movement, and now you're back, you're teaching a few days. So talk about your course and like what you're doing with your business right now, just so we can cheer you
Sure.
on with that.
Yes. So I should say though that it's still, I mean, I never stopped working
Right.
this whole time, even though I did stop teaching for a period of time. And that
Right.
was like a year and a half. And probably the year prior, I was teaching very minimally. I can't speak. This is why I write.
This is the way, right? You can
Um,
proof check it before you say it.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, so, and yeah, I've been writing a lot more. So that's been a nice, you know, another stream of income for me where I could still do that from home. And, there was no set hours or anything like that. So that was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I kept doing that and I was, finishing up some courses, doing some other courses like while I could. Just got back into teaching 2 months ago and I created a course with and for profitable Pilates, and it's called How to Use Writing in Your Fitness Business and Get Paid. And
Okay.
it's for basically instruct fitness pros. So whatever your modality is, you
Mm-hmm.
can use it. And the reason I made it is because I found a lot of people were asking me questions. I was getting DMs and they were just like, "How did you write for that?" Or like, somebody asked me to write something. I don't even like know where to start. How do you do a pitch? I want to write for this magazine, or I have this idea, and like all these things. And then I also think of things that I would have liked to know
Yes.
when I started, because I've always enjoyed writing, but it kind of just happened that I fell into it where it became like a stream of income. And
Yeah.
there were so many things to figure out, So yeah, so I created this course and it's I mean, I think it's a great course.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of work into it and it covers a lot. I mean, the course is about an hour long and it comes with a workbook that you can follow. So it's kind of like an action step of like helping you get your ideas out, how to do a pitch, like
Okay.
finding, what publications, how much they pay, or, negotiating your own pay. Like there's all kinds of things in this. I even talk about if you're from another country and you want to write somewhere else, things to look out for. So it covers a
Okay.
lot. It covers a lot if you want to write for publications, whether online or in print. And it's a great course to get you going, like if you need more writing ideas or if you need to start a blog or add to your blog, or how you can use writing, really just to get your voice out, and how
Yes.
you can repurpose so much of what you've written,
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. So is this for someone who is like from ground zero wants to start writing, or someone who's kind of like a bit more mature in their business and this is like the
it's
next level for them? Like where does this
it's
fall?
actually both, which I know sounds kind
Okay.
of weird because
No, no.
you want a niche, but if you're total beginner and you don't even have a blog, like yeah, this course is definitely for you. And I even give you ideas of where you can start having things published so that you start having, your portfolio. And if you're someone who like your website's all done and you have offerings, then yeah, you can use that and fly with it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it really is for both, because when I made the course and with all the writing that I've done, I actually like I don't even have my own blog, which sounds kind of crazy because I was like, how can you be
Right.
doing that? So I
Yeah.
explain in a way that like, hey, I was able to do this without having my own blog and my own website set up. So you can do it like that.
Right.
And if you do have these things, then you're gonna like you can take all this stuff and go even further, because the way you can use writing, you can get all these people to come back to your website
Yeah.
and to come back and find out about your offerings, right?
So
But with
then how do
that,
I not?
sorry, but with that said,
Yeah.
one thing that you can do, if you go to my Instagram, you'll
Mhm.
see, or just go to my link in bio,
Right.
you'll see my whole writing portfolio, a link to that. Um, and there's a lot of articles in there, like especially like I covered a lot for Pilates. So there's a lot of things in there. Like today I just posted about one that I did for Healthline that's about the
Yes.
benefits.
Yep. I
And
use
I
that
think
as post.
teachers should definitely have that one because there's almost 50 cited sources. So this is one that I know other
Mm,
teachers have used, and it's a great way to, also promote Pilates and what you're doing. So, and to have that sort of the studies behind it and whatnot. So that's one, but there's also one that I did for Profitable Pilates. It's called the 5 reasons to include writing in your fitness business.
that's the one. Yeah.
So yeah, so I
Yeah.
highly recommend people read that if you're even if you are writing and you need some reminders or inspiration, or if you're not writing and you're not sure, I highly recommend reading that. And then that can also take you to the course. And then I'm also doing writing tip Wednesdays. So you can check that out. And I've got a
Nice.
little prompt for you. And that's on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did I answer your questions about the course?
Yeah, you did. Absolutely. And it sounds like now this sounds very like polished. You know what I mean? Like almost like sorry to say, but like almost like intimidatingly good.
The course?
Yeah, like I mean like the course and then like the writing Wednesdays and then this and then that, like that all these things like they look so good. Like someone's saying it sounds amazing. Like that sounds so cool. And then it's like I don't know if I could do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so for the person who's just writing, like, well, that's Roxy. She's a writer, right?
Right.
So how do we include more people into this writing thing for their work
Right.
without being
Well,
intimidated by it?
okay. Well, let's go. Well, let's take a step back and remember to, okay, if you check out my Instagram right now, like I started getting back into the gram like literally 2 weeks ago. Okay. So we
Yes.
talked
Yeah.
about parking ideas. Like I've had some of these ideas for a while, you know, like that's how it is in my life right now in this phase. I have ideas. I might call you and be like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about writing this and da 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 da. And it might not happen like months down the road. So these
Right.
things didn't happen overnight. Like it was really a progression.
Good.
The
Okay.
thing that I say for people about writing, because I get it. Sometimes you get stuck. I've had people contact me that's just like, oh, they're really interested in writing and they love it, but then sometimes they get stuck and they don't know where to start. I
Right.
mean, you're teachers, so think about when your clients first come in. Do they get it right the first time? Like sometimes, like it's very rare, right? Like everything's a
Good
process.
point.
And it's the same
Yeah.
with this.
Right.
And the whole point of writing is it's your voice and it's your perspective. And
Hmm.
Leslie also brought up the fact if you're not actually comfortable writing, there's those apps where you can speak and then it writes it out for you,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And one of the things you can do, because I mean, writing really is an essential form of your business, right? Because you need writing for your website, you need writing for your captions, you need writing for
Yes.
your newsletter. Like, there's a whole slew of things. And if you write something, you can repurpose it for all of those things. And you can also reuse it, you know?
Yes. Right.
Nothing's stuck and you can go back. And that's what I mean too. Like you might say polished, but that's what the course is for. We go through a whole thing that's going to help you list ideas, and it
Right.
doesn't all have to be done like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's good.
I mean, trust in your voice. Words are powerful. That's one thing I'm
Yeah.
really feeling. And if you're kind of like, oh, that's cliche, she says that because she's writing, but think about how you cue, right?
Yeah.
Those are a
Right.
lot of cueing. It's words, right? Like when we're not doing hands
Hmm.
on, and we always talk
Right.
about the language that we use and more efficient cueing for the person. So if you think of that, you're already doing that. How can you take those same things and put it into a blog or into an article?
Well said. Yeah. That normalizes it. I appreciate that, right? Because it's scary, right? Like I mean, like everyone has see everyone else's gifts and they like, okay, like for me, like I mean, I like writing, but I love speaking, right? So if I was to say, here's a speaking course, and my friend Quasi does like 10 tips for public speaking, and every business that sharpen your public speaking skills. That's scary stuff for people, but like he makes it palatable, like, and like the same way you're
Right.
saying, like just practice it and just use your own voice and don't try and be someone else with it. Like you can do this.
And you can break it down, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
maybe when somebody first hears that, they might think like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go and speak in front of like 1,000 people. It's like you don't have to. Maybe it's just you're going to improve how you speak with your clients, or you improve
Yes.
your elevator pitch, or you improve when a new client comes in, you have to talk to them about what you're doing, right? Like you can break
Yes.
those things down. And it's the same thing with writing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you mention that article again? You mentioned the Healthline one that you recommend for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, it's called the 19 benefits of Pilates. Yeah.
I
You
put
can
it in
find
the
that in the link in my bio. It's actually the one that I posted today. And you can find that under the writing portfolio. If you even put in, if you even Google Healthline and my name, Roxy Menzies, you'll get there's like an author page and a
yeah.
picture of me that like they copied and pasted. So it looks really weird than from the original one. So just bypass that, please.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I like the reason why I like that article, and I used it on my LinkedIn specifically because it gives legitimacy to our Pilates work.
yeah,
And because there's peer review, there's resources in it. It's not just a flighty, here's my opinion on Pilates. Like this is like supporting documents as to why this is a good thing, right? And I found that was powerful, and I got a lot of like feedback from that. And there's something about the
great.
legitimacy of it that came from that. So thank you for that. I do strongly recommend all of you grab that and put it on your social media, just as a benefit for your audiences.
Yeah. I do want to add one thing though, because this is one thing I talked about in the writing course is there are ethics
Mhm.
within writing. And I've actually
Yes.
found that I found some websites where they've actually copy and pasted entire articles that I've written on their site. Like you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. I mean,
Right.
thankfully they wrote my name and it was but it's also but they didn't also mention the publication, probably because the publication would be like, hey, take that down. But what
Right.
you can do is you can use quotes from articles, you
Yes.
can link to articles, have it in a different tab from your own website or whatever you're
Yes.
using, but just always make sure that you quote the person who wrote it and where it came from.
Yes. Right.
That's
I
so
just usually like link it back to the person too, because I like to just like amplify other voices as well. So I don't try and like look what I just wrote.
yeah.
You delete your name at the bottom, right? Like, yeah, Tracy's right. So many people do that. It's yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Ideally,
Tracy.
I mean, I have had people that actually reached out and they said like, oh, I wanted to link this. Is it okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And again, just make sure that you include the source. I mean, even with written permission, it's if you're trying to do the entire article, yes. But if you're using quotes here and there and you're citing them properly, you don't necessarily have to ask for permission for that, right? Because
Right.
I mean, that's free for all on the internet, right?
Yeah,
You just have
absolutely.
to make sure. It's like when you were in school and you wrote papers. If you didn't write where
Yes.
you got the information from, you're accused of plagiarism, right? Same.
Yep. Same deal.
Yeah.
So what's going on with your teaching now? Like, what are you teaching? Are you like trying to do more in that side as well?
Right now, I'm good with what I have. I teach one
Okay.
afternoon at Fine Tune Pilates, which is in Parkdale, Toronto.
Yes.
Beautiful studio. It's kind of like when I first met them, I came home and I said to my husband, I go, that place feels like home. And he was shocked because he's like, you never say that about studios.
Yes, yeah.
Um, so yeah, like everyone there is amazing. And so I really like it there. So, and they're very understanding to what other things that are going on in your life. So I'm teaching Pilates there right now. I'm just doing like a block in the afternoons, and then
Hmm.
it's actually kind of nice to just have that one committed time, because then as things come up and people need subs and coverage, then I can also
You're
offer
free
that.
too. Yeah.
And then outside of that, I'm teaching some pre and postnatal in Vaughan, at the Womb Vaughan, which is a place
Okay.
like it's very catered to pre and postnatal um,
Yeah.
work. Yeah. And that's it for now. Like I've got other things, like I've got more articles that I'm working on, um, some workshops that I'm working on, and I can't tell you too much about it. I'm in the very,
Sure.
very early stages. I'm collaborating with someone and working on a book. And that's
Oh,
all I can
amazing.
tell you, because
Okay.
it's super, super early. And like I said, I know that we won't be able to put in the real time to work on this book until the fall.
Yeah. Right.
So, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah. And
Totally.
that, and my daughter goes to daycare only twice a week. So
Hmm.
it's, I know I keep bringing that up but for anybody that has small kids, I think it's really hard to get things done. Like if you go to my Instagram feed, you'll see a video where I'm literally trying to work out and the kid is all over me. Like
Yes. Yeah.
that is just the norm. So it's very, I'm doing a lot, but I'm not in like full mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's little bits here and there. And I'm working with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. We're working on developing a program um, for pre and
Amazing.
postnatal in the clinic. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's a couple different things like behind the scenes happening.
Right, right, right. So, do you have a niche per se or like a favorite client? Like I always ask this, but like, and you've mentioned prenatal pelvic health, like basically like that sort of thing. Like, is that your niche or is that kind of what you've just fallen into because of the stage of life that you're in?
No, I was always into women's health. Always,
Okay.
always, always. Um, but it's really hard for me to answer that, because even when I'm working on my website and it's just like I have these different things going on. How do I? Because they say like you target one person. It's like, okay, but we
Yes.
got this and this and this. So that's always been a struggle for me. I
And
don't know if I
everybody.
have a. I don't know if I have like a favorite, because I do love working with pre and postnatal.
Hmm.
Um, I think overall I'm more geared towards like women 30s onwards, probably. And
Yeah.
that's still pretty vague what I'm saying. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I have a full favorite. And
That's
then
fine.
also because I come from a background of dance, so I worked a lot with dancers, and that's something that I'm interested in doing again too. So there's a lot. So
Sure.
that's what I mean. I've got to sort of park things,
Right.
you know.
Well, I mean, you do, but I mean, like why pre and postnatal? Like, what does it excite you about that population?
That's a good question. I don't know. Well, first of all, with postnatal, you've got babies around and they're so sweet. Because I think it's also a really important time in that person's phase of life, right? And
Right.
now there's a lot more concentration on it, but I would
Hmm.
say 20 years ago, like it wasn't. Like, and even now I still, you still see things in publications or online
Sure.
of, recommendations for pregnant women, and it's like, whoa. Like they're
Yeah.
saying that. I mean, you talked about this with Carolyn Anthony, right? Like they have things,
Mhm.
and they're not even talking about foundational stuff that these
Right.
pregnant individuals need to know. Like about the
Hmm.
breathing and how to really like work the core when you're 8 months pregnant. Do you know what I mean? So it's not so
Right.
much that you can't do this and you can't do this. It's more about how are you doing it. You know. And I think
Yeah.
it's such a vital part. And I feel like women's health, especially with pelvic floor, that's also something that sort of like more attention has been going to in the last
Yes.
be like 15 years. So it's still growing in that sense. And I think
Mhm.
women need that support.
They do. Do you feel like they're like around the pelvic health stuff too, like there's a lot of misinformation, like it's becoming a trend that people are jumping on now as well.
Um, to some extent, yeah, because I read some things and I'm like, I don't know. That I feel like it's literally like just the edge. They're covering
Okay.
like just the edge or the
Yeah.
basics, and there's so much more to it. And we have people in this industry that are really like on top of it. Like there's Claire Sparrow, there is Rooted Boston, you
Yep.
know,
Hmm.
Georgia is also like on that, and
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of other people they're just sort of skimming it, and a lot of and again I think it's better now. Like Rooted Boston has an amazing prenatal and postnatal
Hmm.
program that she's doing. That's for yoga, and the Pilates one is coming up,
Right.
but I remember back in the day, like the training that you'd get for prenatal, like working with prenatal individuals was so minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even just in what you said there, I mean, like I think that there's so much it's like there's a miscommunication. Like we're using pelvic health and pre and postnatal interchangeably.
Right. And it's like it's not like pelvic health. We know it's not even just if you've been pregnant. Like you can have pelvic floor dysfunction at basically any age. And you talked about this with Carolyn Anthony and Misty. It's
Mhm.
not just women either.
Right.
So men, right? So
Right.
and I think sometimes it's a forgotten part because people have back and hip pain and these other issues and they're just like and nothing else is working. And then
Hmm.
when someone finally gears them towards pelvic health, things start coming together, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
It's funny, I had this flashback as you said, like what they're teaching about pre and postnatal 20 years ago. I was teaching pre and postnatal 20 years ago because we were expecting our first son. And then I, at the same time, was getting a lot of pre and postnatal personal training clients. So I was like reading so much and researching so much. And like, I was like, all of a sudden, like, who's coming at you at that time? I had so many of my clients who were like runners who were pregnant and like, and that's a whole, even within that, that's a whole separate beast. Like athletes who are pregnant, who are hyper aware of their body and every change. That's a separate thing than someone who's sedentary having a baby, right? Like then there's all these different nuances to the work
yeah.
that don't even get mentioned when you have this just blanket statement about pre and postnatal and pelvic health, etc. Right? So
Well, definitely. And then there's also, bounce back culture in,
thank you.
you know, in postnatal.
Right.
Um, and like almost every I want to say mother, and I know some people I'm still working with pronouns and that, and I know that some
Mhm.
people don't, you know, so just let me say what I need to
I
say.
hear you, please.
Hopefully
Yeah,
people
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
But like most mothers I speak to, they always say, regardless of if they're exercising or not, they don't start feeling like really connected to their body until like 2 years postpartum. And
Yes.
some is longer, some is less. Like there's no,
Hmm.
cookie cutter way of hitting that.
Right.
There was even a study done on um, like postpartum women in the military,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it was really interesting. And the range of sort of like getting back to before was like a huge range, you know.
Yes.
And a lot of them had a lot more support. Like there's so many different um, branches that go into this. So
For
it's really
sure.
interesting.
It is interesting. And I feel like there's a sense of almost protecting, being like a shield against some of like that hurtful language around it, like getting back at your skinny jeans rhetoric type thing, right? Like
Yeah.
um that sort of thing,
And
right?
there's so
So
much more, and it can be really triggering for a
mhm,
lot of people.
absolutely.
I mean, that
Yeah,
can be triggering. There could be other things going on, and it also depends on how much support you have in your life. Like, there's so many
it's
different things.
complicated.
Yeah, there can
Right.
be a lot to it, and for some it's not. For some it's just like they're the anomaly, and they just they bounce right back, and they're like we're good.
Right. Yeah.
So it goes back to everything that we do as instructors. We have to look back. We have to look at the individual, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
like I said, but that is one aspect of what I do. And even
Yes.
for writing, like I want to do some creative writing and more. The ideas are
Hmm.
constantly flowing, so we'll see.
Multi-talented, multifaceted. Yeah.
Doing my thing. I think I've been pretty. I feel blessed. I was
Yeah.
talking to someone the other day. Like I've always done things, and I made money from it. I can support myself from
Hmm.
things that I really enjoy and I love.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say too, please keep an eye out for this Balanced Body blog that's coming out because it's really
Yeah.
geared towards teachers and sort of appreciating like what we bring to the table and
Yeah.
not necessarily, you know, continuing to perpetrate these stereotypes on ourselves.
For sure. I'm gonna copy and paste it and say that it's mine. I made it up. It's,
Sure. Well,
there.
hey, you did help. You gave me some ideas.
I know, right? Look at my article that I wrote all by
You'd be
myself.
like, I influenced this article.
Yes. Sign up
Well,
for my
maybe you should
writing
read it
course.
first and see if you like it before you say that.
Right, exactly. Can you do one more shout out for your writing course though? Like all jokes aside, like just like tell more people, like people just jumped in and stuff. So just talk about your course, and how they can sign up for it and how they can integrate that into their work.
Okay, so the course is called How to Use Writing in Your Fitness Business and Get Paid, and it's for fitness pros of any modality. And it's just going to help you take your writing to the next level, whether you want to, you know, use it for your own business and whether on your website, starting your own blog, adding to your own blog, or if you want to be published. We cover all kinds of things like that. And there's a whole action step plan and there's a whole thing of resources to help you out as well. And you can get that from the Profitable Pilates website. The link is in my bio. You can find the link. Also, Profitable Pilates, or if you just go to Profitable Pilates and you'll see my name under instructors or under courses. So easy. And make sure you check out the blog that goes with it. 5 reasons
Yes.
to include writing in your fitness business. Yeah, there's so much. And then there's like Wednesday writing tips. And then, if you check out my writing portfolio, there's all kinds of things there. If you want inspiration or you want, things that back up what we already know about this wonderful work that we do.
There you go. Follow Roxy. That's where it's at.
Yes.
Um, just before we go, Roxy, I just want to say, just with this public forum here, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, and you have definitely been one of the blessings of this time of lockdowns and quarantines, and just meeting people, connecting, and like our connection goes beyond just like a screen time. Me, hassling you to come on my live. Like we
Oh,
talk
yeah.
and we
Yeah, we
strategize
friends. We friends.
and we friend. That's a good way of
We
saying it.
brethren.
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
So I appreciate you so much, and I thank you so much for actually coming back on and just talking about the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It went by really quickly. I can't believe it.
It did, yeah, always does.
Yeah. I'm
And I mean,
impressed. I'm really impressed that you're still doing this every like 5 days a week.
it's like you're writing; it just comes, right? Like you just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't always just come. Sometimes I have to sit and get started and then start to flow. So
Well,
yeah.
sometimes I just press go live, like
Right? That's how it
right.
has to be sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, like my wife is amazed that sometimes I just press that button and then we like guess who was on today? That was so awesome, so and so. I'm like, you sound like you're so fired up from this day where you had no clue what you're gonna say. I'm like, yeah, it was so awesome. Blah, blah. Like, yeah, so
Yeah. That's
that's how it
cool.
goes. Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Well, thank you
Well,
so
thanks,
much.
Martin. I'll see you in person
Yes.
soon. We're due for a
Yes.
meetup.
Right. I got to return your book to you as well.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
true.
my excuse. There you go.
All right. Thanks
All
everyone for
all
coming on.
right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Bye.